This person is totally captivated by you with this Knight of Wands energy. They see you as like a walking goddess, a walking god, an emanation of the divine. You've got this very powerful energy around you at this time. You are vibrating at a very high frequency. You're very magnetic. There's something about just like the glow of you that you bring into any rooms that this person is in that you walk into. It's like you shift the climate of that room just by being yourself. Even times where you're trying to be subtle, you're trying to be incognito, you're trying to just blend in, this person is noticed. Like you couldn't blend in if you try. If nobody else notices you, they notice you. This is something where this person is like laser focused on you. You might have noticed them kind of like looking at you from across the room, and then you make eye contact and they look away real quickly, or they might even sort of like blush, look a little bit embarrassed. That's because this person is kind of like, without meaning to, their thoughts are getting very spicy as far as you are concerned. This is somebody that without meaning to, they kind of tumble into that space of daydreaming, even in the midst of there being like other people around. That might make them a little bit self-conscious, but it feels like it is not something that is stopping this person from a deep interest in approaching, getting to know you more, crossing some sort of threshold where they can only at this moment just kind of sit and stare and like take you in, have their thoughts kind of drift off into all that spicy territory. But this is definitely somebody that wants to kind of like create action in this, create momentum in this. This Knight of Wands is not the energy of somebody that's just going to stand still, stand on the sidelines, watch from afar. But there's definitely this energy of like, to approach you, it's taking a lot more kind of like energy from within themselves than they thought would be the case. This is somebody, it feels like, who is normally very confident, very able to approach others. They may be a very like outgoing person, a very gregarious person, a very friendly person. They're not easily like intimidated by others, so somebody with a really good like sense of self, a really healthy sense of confidence. But when it comes to you, it's like all of that crumbles, and they might even feel that you're very much out of their league. And so again, this is something though that is not going to stop this person. This is like, okay, I just need to like muster all my forces. I need to, just kind of like build some sort of strength inside of me so that I can kind of like move through this space between the two of us, where I'm like looking at you from afar, you see me looking, I start blushing, I look away real quickly. It doesn't kind of create the right impression, because this person doesn't want you to get the wrong idea and sort of like think that they're staring at you because you got something in your teeth, or they're staring at you because you're weird, or they're staring at you with kind of like bad vibes coming your way. This is something that this person is like staring at you, and they're thinking of all the things that they want to do with you. They're staring at you and they're imagining what that would be like to have like an up close and personal conversation. For some, this is even somebody that like daydreams about you in between the times where they've had contact, they've seen you, they've been in the same room with you, and you are kind of like the central focus of fantasy land for this person for like hours afterwards, days afterwards. This person's like crushing hard on you. We also have the Fool. Yeah, so it feels like this person at some point in time might have attempted to like make more direct contact with you, and it didn't come out right. They like felt like a fool, or they felt that they kind of like messed something up. It was something that almost kind of like humbled them without meaning to. Like they approached with every intention of like, I'm just going to talk to this person. I'm just going to introduce myself. We're just going to get to know one another. And then it was like you opened your mouth and you spoke to them directly, and they felt all their defenses crumble. They may have felt very kind of like exposed in your presence, almost like you could see through any illusions that they were presenting. You could see through the masks. You could see through to who they really are as a person. Or when you were speaking to them, you were speaking to their soul. Like they heard you from like deep inside of themselves, beyond logic. It's like their heart space responded, their energy responded. And so that feels to be something that tripped them up. They didn't expect that. And so it's caused cause this person then to kind of like give you the wrong impression of somebody that's just kind of like wanting casual chit chat, or maybe after that sort of first approach, they haven't approached you again, but you've like caught them staring, you've caught them looking at you. This is somebody that wants to kind of have like a second chance to make a first impression, or it's kind of like they're trying to figure out a way, okay, so how do I sort of reroute myself from the ways in which I came forth with all this confidence? It didn't go as expected, because it's like you were totally receptive to that, as I thought you would be, yet something happened energetically. Something happened where I got like really nervous. Something happened where all my confidence faded away, and I felt like there's nowhere to hide in your presence. It's like when this person has gotten like more up close and personal with you, they really feel that essence of like something about you, this je ne sais quoi, that is just like you are this divinity walking. You are this embodiment of this very like divine energy, divine feminine, divine masculine. It is something that this person has like not encountered up close and personal in anyone before. It's almost like you carry like a celebrity energy, like a star energy, but you're very like accessible, you're very grounded, you're very down to earth, you're very approachable, you're very personable, you're very easy to talk to, which it feels like has this person sort of confused, kind of like, okay, so I see this very powerful essence that you give off, this beautiful energy, this like glowing aura, and I've attempted to approach, we've had some kind of conversation, some sort of interactions, and it should have continued to progress forward from there, because I was getting all the signals that you were like receptive to this. But instead I found myself in a position of like, oh, my ego, just couldn't sustain sort of like the intention that I had set, or kind of the mindset that I was in when I approached you. And this has now made me kind of like fall back into this place of sort of like, okay, this was not really what I expected, but in the best possible way. And how do I approach without coming through and almost just being like a groupie, or coming through in this energy of being kind of very just sort of over the top in terms of their delivery, or in terms of like ways in which they may almost feel like they want to show off for you or impress you in some sort of way. Like, yeah, they have to get your attention, but there's also something where they want to like relate to you where you are, like meet you where you are, because that vibe that you have anchored inside of you, that energy you have anchored inside of you, that just radiates so powerfully around you in interactions with you, in interactions this person has seen you have with other people. Like, you're the kind of people that you leave others better than you found them. You light people up from inside, and this is somebody that is like, I want to experience more of that. I want to see what something like that would be, to explore romance with someone that has this like very powerful effect upon others, has this very powerful effect upon me. So again, like, don't mistake the fact that this person may be sort of like holding back a little bit at this point in time, or kind of giving mixed signals. Don't take that as a no. This is not one of those situations where like, oh, it's confusing energy, so just take that as a no. This is somebody that is like, I had a plan mapped out. I was so sure of myself about what would happen, how it would unfold. Things went according to that plan, but something inside of them created this reset that was like, okay, if you're going to continue forth towards this person in this experience, if there's going to be something more here than what has already taken place, you got to be ready to stand in the presence of somebody that is going to be able to speak directly to your soul, that's going to be able to speak, and it's not just your ears that hear, it's your heart that is listening, that you're going to stand in the presence of this person who has somehow, captured that energy of divinity inside of themselves and is embodying that very beautifully, and in turn is going to mirror or model or be that kind of living example, that muse, that template of this person embodying some kind of higher vibrational frequency, divinity within themselves, more than they have already successfully done on their own up to this point in time. Have the Nine of Swords. Yeah, so this person is like overthinking. This is something, it feels like there's like a regular time where you see this person, or like a predictable time, like it's pretty guaranteed you'll run into them. This is like they have thought about, maybe in the recent days or weeks, kind of like, okay, next time I see them, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to have this conversation. This is how it's going to go. And then some little factor, some little detail, maybe it's, the internal critic, the inner chatter, or something around them was like, ooh, I don't know if it's it's the right time. Maybe somebody interrupted the two of you, or, just some little detail of the scenario they had kind of mapped out didn't equate to the reality of the situation. And this is something, though, that it's very frustrating for this person. Like, why can't I just approach? Why can't I continue with the momentum, the wheels that I set in motion in this situation? Or maybe somebody that still hasn't done anything more than just kind of like looking at you from across the crowded room, and they're like, why can't I approach? Why can't I introduce myself? Why can't I get into that place within where I'm able to put one foot in front of the other and continue to progress forth with confidence? Because it feels like you, again, are the central focus of this person's fantasy life at this point in time. You are somebody that they are thinking about, like their favorite intrusive thought during the workday. When they have any kind of downtime, they're definitely thinking of you at night. They're thinking of you before they go to sleep. They may even be dreaming of you, because there is this sense of like fascination. You have captivated this person. And even though it's like they've not been successful in kind of like making that known, or moving beyond whatever sort of like limited interactions you have with one another up to this point in time this is not somebody that is just kind of taking that as a sign like, oh, forget it, this is too tough, this is too difficult, maybe there's something off about this, maybe it's not in my highest good, or maybe I'll just completely be a fool if I take steps towards this person, or maybe it's not meant to be. They're trying to find a way forward. They're frustrated that it hasn't like happened yet. They haven't made that happen yet. But this is definitely somebody where, if you're feeling their energy, you're feeling that presence, this can be the result of energy flows where attention goes. You have their full and undivided attention. You are on their mind more than you would realize. Yeah, we also have the Seven of Pentacles. So that is that energy of like watching and waiting. Is today the day? Is this the right moment? Something where they might almost kind of prepare themselves like, okay, I think I'm going to see you this afternoon. I know I'm going to see you at work today. I have a pretty good idea of where you'll be, so I'm going to make a point to be there as well. And then they go forward to say something, or they're walking over to you. They're ready to speak, and then something kind of feels off. Something feels like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'm, not looking my best. Maybe I'm stressed. Maybe I'm distracted. Maybe I messed the situation up and that door's closed forever. Maybe I was misreading the signals between the two of us, or I was giving you mixed signals and it's not going to go according to plan. And so this is somebody that it feels like there's a lot of tension on their side of the equation, like the tension of almost. They're almost ready to leap forward. They're almost ready to say something, or almost ready to do something. It feels like this person as well is trying to kind of like, they're taking notice of the fact, like if they're seeing you sort of like out and about, and you're the type of person you like get a lot of attention even without meaning to, like people just notice you just have that kind of an energy, that kind of like light around you, like a haloed energy around you. This is something also as well where this person may feel very like self-conscious about that, sort of like, okay, do you have other suitors? Do you have other people that you're talking to? What kind of competition would I have for your attention? And so there's something where even kind of like standing in place, it has them sort of like looking around. Like, if I am fascinated by you, if I am attracted to you, if I am drawn to you, who else might be fascinated? Who else might be drawn to you? Maybe you're already in a talking stage with someone else. Maybe you're already seeing someone else. Maybe you're already dating someone else. So it feels like this person is kind of like, they're right at the brink of saying something. They're right at the brink of kind of like taking that step forward towards you, but they're almost like they don't know what they're walking into. And so they're trying really hard not to kind of like let that energy of doubt or fear kind of trip them up in this circumstance, because it feels like already there's been at least one instance where it's like they tried to make that move. It sort of didn't go according to plan, and they've had to regroup, but they've definitely been sort of like watching from whatever position they are now in. It's kind of like, okay, just because it hasn't happened yet, this doesn't mean that I'm totally off of the idea of something that could happen between the two of us. Yeah, we also have the Three of Cups. So this person is kind of like, they don't want to get trapped in the friend zone, but they almost feel that that might be sort of the safest way to kind of approach to you. It's like they want to come forth with sort of like both hands open and in front of them. So you see that there's nothing that they're trying to hide. This is something where they acknowledge on their end that it's like, yeah, I'm really nervous and I know that that might give off like a weird vibe. And so I don't want that to be off-putting to you. This is somebody that almost might feel that kind of like total honesty is sort of the best approach. But there might be something where they've overthought this so much that it's like they don't want to be that kind of person that just sort of like, if you had communications back and forth for a period of time that it kind of stopped, or maybe you've not had those kind of like texts or those messages, it's just been like a little bit sort of face to face. They don't want to totally switch things up where it's like they're sending you a whole paragraph, or they're being like way more chatty than usual, because there's almost a sense of, again, like you seeing through the mask, seeing through the illusion, speaking through to like who they are as a person, that they just naturally sort of assume that you would have enough discernment to kind of tell that something would be up if they came with hidden motives, and that you would shut them down. You would almost like shut them out in the cold, or it would make it that much more difficult in order to create more closeness. They'd be sort of forced into that friend zone, which is a place that like they really fear being trapped. We also have the Eight of Pentacles. So yeah, this could definitely be a work connection. This could be somebody in a friend group, somebody, like in kind of a community setting, something where there is the ability, even if it's like a virtual connection, this is how they would connect with you or how they would reach out to you. This is the kind of person that is like, I want us to be able to get together in person. This is somebody that almost might feel they're better talking to people in person than via text or via DM. And so there's a sense of almost like, if we can just kind of get beyond, or I can just get beyond that kind of awkwardness of approaching, standing in your presence, sitting in the reality of like, yeah, this is actually happening. You're actually taking me up on this offer. We're actually having this conversation. If I can get used to sort of the weird feeling of like, when you speak, I feel it with my soul. I feel it with my heart. I feel it everywhere. If I can kind of get over the fact that that is something different than anything I've ever experienced before, you are definitely the kind of person that I feel like we could have interesting experiences with one another. We could have fun experiences with one another. This is somebody that wants to kind of build beyond just this energy of like tension, looking from afar. They don't want to be somebody that is just typecast as like a secret admirer that never made a move forward. So this is somebody that has been like working behind the scenes, kind of giving themselves pep talks, or again, like fantasizing a lot, sort of scripting, rehearsing, playing the different scenarios out. Maybe they even have somebody like a trusted associate or a friend or a family member where they've shared the situation with, here's the problem, here's the situation, like how do I get over this? And that person might not understand like what they're so intimidated by. Even if this is like someone that's pointed you out to this other person, or they've shown them your picture, shown them social media, that other person might be like, yeah, they're cute, they're attractive, they seem nice, they seem fun, they seem interesting, but I don't see what you're seeing in them. Like, so this person's got like eyes for you, but there's something that they recognize about you, that's almost like other people don't see that. Even if you get a lot of attention, it's like the way that this person is feeling so drawn to you. It's like other people they've tried to get advice from are like, I don't understand, why don't you just go talk to them? They seem totally approachable. Okay, so it didn't go as you wanted it to the first time around. Why are you going to let that stop you? So they have a lot of people, maybe if they're talking to someone or people about this, that are kind of pushing them forward, like, just say something, just do it, just put yourself out there. Like, what's the worst that could happen? There might even be people that are like sick of hearing about this, like, okay, we've talked about this 20 times, you need to get out there and just do something about this. You need to step forth. You need to speak that truth. This is something where people in their life could be like, we don't want to keep having this conversation with you, giving you that advice. Put yourself out there. Make that communication, approach this person, start talking, do something. And they're kind of getting shut down in terms of like, people are not wanting to just sort of talk about this anymore. It's kind of like, you've been given the advice, you've been given the signs, you've been given the direction. Now take action upon that. Do something about that. So this is definitely somebody that from all angles, internally and in different ways externally, there's a lot of motivating forces for them to, just present themselves. Start with where they are, start simply. For some, they may even be like, I want to start simply, and it does come out as that whole paragraph without meaning it to. If they're so nervous, it may just, they're blurting a lot out, or it may kind of seem chaotic when they come towards you. But this is somebody that is almost like, I can't just sit here on the sidelines as a secret admirer. You're too interesting. You're too fascinating. You make me feel some kind of way, and I can't just sort of sit back and let the moment pass me by. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.